really just everything is on the table. Mark Andreessen wrote an article several years ago talking about how software is eating the world. And really it's to think about that every industry is ripe for disruption. The industry that David and I spent, a fair amount of time in the newspaper industry, of course, went through and continues to go through wrenching change as a result of the very trends we're talking about. But other things, we mentioned Uber. Whoever thought the taxi industry was going to be completely upended so dramatically by technology? And the thought is that really everything is on the table right now, including place. And as we think about our city, we must think about sort of creating an environment that really embraces this sort of innovation and removes the hurdles and the regulatory the barriers to really to fostering sort of this kind of creativity and innovation that can so push forward a city and a city like Miami and a region like South Florida. And I mentioned the driverless car example just because I think that's instructive, because here's a case where the regulatory environment is welcoming an experiment like that here in Florida, and so they're doing it, rather than sort of us being sort of behind the trend and people coming here and actually then trying to fight through various hurdles to pursue their particular idea. Two, the sort of the urban realm is key. And so particularly as you all, as developers and real estate professionals, for Miami to ultimately be successful in trying to build a robust and interconnected startup and tech community, if it doesn't have strong urban environments with really good walkability, with good public places, it's developments that are transit-oriented, all of that, it's going to struggle. And so as we must sort of continually be mindful that it all sort of interacts and connects. And with that in mind, it's worth thinking too about, I wonder, within sort of this community of entrepreneurs and have the privilege of working with right now, something that comes up a lot is housing. And so you do wonder sort of what are those next innovations in housing as we talk about sort of other industries, sort of what's next, and what are ways as we see sort of the future of work beginning to change in terms of the environments that are people in. I wonder what the future of living is going to be and how that will change with the different trends that we see playing out. Lastly, for any of this to work, along with the things I mentioned, I think for Miami, it's really embracing our diversity. And the more that we can create a network with lots of different on-ramps and ways to connect and share that pulls from all of our communities across Miami, ultimately the better, right? The more that we have people from different backgrounds and different daily concerns and different life challenges and experiences connecting and colliding with one another, ultimately the richer the set of ideas they come up with, and ultimately the greater the impact here. And so that's what we're trying to work on, and that's what we've been hard at work over the last nearly 3 years, and continue to push forward with. If you have any questions, delighted to answer them, but I thank you for the opportunity to come to a real estate conference and talk a little bit about what we're trying to do around technology and building Miami startup community. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Matt. I think one question I would like to put to you in relationship with this group is, how does this, maybe it's too early, how can you forecast how this group and their future success can play into the growth and development of Miami from a real estate perspective? We naturally hope that many of these people will ultimately earn and sustain incomes that will make it possible for them to buy the types of properties that are being sold today. Can you prognosticate a little bit on how that might happen?
Well, look, Miami's economy has been diversifying for a long time. It's building new sort of areas, but there's still a lot of work to be done, I think. And Miami is still a place that has these really big swings. Very much still sort of a boom and bust environment. We've lived through two now in the last last 10 years or so. Well, one big one, and perhaps if everything we read is true, which we know don't believe everything we read, right, as former reporters, but we're perhaps headed towards another rough patch. But the thinking here is that cities that don't do this are really going to be left behind, because we're headed towards a period, the next 10 to 20 years of dramatic change, right? In terms of how we just sort of get around. I mean, go back to this may sound crazy, but sort of the autonomous car model, right? I mean, there is the potential that within, I mean, for example, I was at a conference in the spring, and then there was a guy, it was called Smart City Startups, and it was all around sort of this whole smart cities effort. There's a guy from BMW there, and I said, how long will it be until autonomous cars are, you know, mass market and ubiquitous? He said 2021, right? So that's, we'll see if he's right or not, but that's pretty soon, and that's going to dramatically reshape cities, right? And so cities that are able to actually be the sort of places where so many, and the pace of new ideas happening is going to increase, so the cities that can sort of be those places will have inordinate more success, and ultimately, of course, more success will mean, in this case, you know, home prices going up and people buying, you know, more homes, perhaps. Meanwhile, though, I wonder, hey, John, how are you? Good to see you. John Stewart, we're proud to say we're a supporter of what John is doing at the Urban Studios at FIU, so definitely go see on Lincoln Road.
Come upstairs, D232, that's the MakerBot. D232.
D232, check out, we just funded a 3D printing MakerBot innovation lab at the Urban Studios on Lincoln Road on Miami Beach. So to go check it out upstairs. So
We've got time for one question left.
Peter.
right here. Yeah.
Hi, how are you? My name is Araceli Villanueva. Can you hear me? No. Hello?
I can repeat it if you want.
There's no for that.
Sorry. My name is Araceli Villanueva from Douglas Elliman. I'm sorry I was a little late for your talk, but the question I guess I have is, what is the relationship between what you guys are doing here to the development and growth of the city in terms of real estate and our business?
So what we're doing at Knight Foundation?
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess two answers, right? So we have this whole initiative that I've been talking a little bit about, related to trying to help build Miami startup and entrepreneurial community, right? The thinking, the outcome that we're seeking and doing this, among them is greater talent retention and attraction, right? More people deciding to root themselves here and build their ideas here rather than going elsewhere. You know, there's much less of it now, but you go back 3 or 4 years ago, there was lots of talk around brain drain, and the thought is that if we do this well, this can be one helpful, hopefully very helpful tool in keeping more people here. Furthermore, to expand opportunity, right? I mean, in terms of what we're seeing with growth, it's not really in established industries, right? It's new ventures being launched. And so if we can create an environment where it's easier to people to not only start, but in particular scale and grow new ventures, we think that actually makes for a healthier community. And as it relates to what you do in real estate, will be helpful. I should add that we also, though we do some work in addition around sort of placemaking generally, which I think can be very helpful around real estate, and certainly, and maybe even that feels even more of a clear connection. We've made grants, for example, to support initiatives like the Underline, which some of you may have heard of, which is trying to activate the 10-mile green space that actually goes from Brickell all the way down to Dadeland under the Metro Rail line. Who knew there's like this, essentially it's this 10-mile linear park that sits there without much activity at all. Our thinking is that if we can activate that, that's very helpful to all the stuff that we're doing around entrepreneurship. The people in this community are trying to build and keep and attract and retain care about that very, very much. That's really, really important to them. But also just provides lots of benefits just around community engagement generally and creating a greater sense of place, right? So,
Awesome.
so I hope that's helpful.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Matt, thank you very much. Round of applause for Matthew Hagman, Planning Program Director of the